Number. Convoy surrounded SEALs. Panicked female sniper. Emerged from darkness. Blazing M4. The night in the Sangin Mountains swallowed every sound whole. The SEAL convoy escorting a high-value target suddenly came under attack from 3 directions. IEDs detonated, radio communications jammed completely, the Navy operators cut off. In that moment of chaos, everyone believed they were about to be wiped out. But then, from the edge of darkness on the mountain flank, a small figure stepped forward. Not reinforcements, not an informant. It was her. Hand gripping tight, an M4 mounted with thermal optics, eyes cold as if seeing through the night itself, and when she squeezed the trigger, the entire battlefield changed color. The Hindu Kush stretched endless under a moonless sky. Sangin Valley lay wrapped in darkness so complete it felt like drowning in ink. Captain James Holloway checked his watch. 0347 hours. 3 hours until dawn. 3 hours too long. Alpha 1 to Alpha 3, radio check. He whispered into his headset. Static. Then Lieutenant Marcus Reeves' voice crackled through. Alpha 3, Lima Charlie. 2 clicks from Checkpoint Cobra. The convoy crawled forward, 4 MRAPs carrying SEAL Team 7 and their precious cargo. In the third vehicle, shackled and hooded, sat Nasir al-Hamdi, a Taliban commander whose capture had cost them 2 good men already. Intelligence suggested he knew the locations of 3 weapons caches and a network of tunnel systems beneath Kandahar. Worth the risk, command had said. Holloway wasn't sure anymore. Sergeant Dylan Fletcher sat across from him, M4 resting against his knee, fingers drumming a nervous pattern on the stock. 23 years old, 2 deployments, good instincts. Right now, those instincts were screaming. Something's wrong, sir, Fletcher muttered. Explain. Too quiet, no dogs, no movement in the compounds we passed. Holloway had noticed the same thing. Afghan nights were never this silent. There should be sounds, livestock, distant generators, the murmur of late conversations. Instead, nothing. Just the rumble of their engines and the crunch of tires on gravel. In the lead vehicle, Staff Sergeant Cole Patterson scanned the ridgeline through night vision. Green phosphor turned the world into a grainy nightmare of shadows and thermal blooms. He'd heard the stories around Bagram, whispers about a ghost sniper who'd saved an entire company near Helmand. No name, no face, no official record. The Marines who'd been there swore she was real. Said she appeared when things went to hell, turned the tide, then vanished like smoke. Patterson didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in training, firepower, and the men beside him. Alpha 1, this is Alpha Lead, he transmitted. Thermals picking up cold spots on the ridgeline. Could be nothing, could be covered positions. Copy that, Alpha Lead, stay sharp. 2 minutes to the waypoint, then we're in the open for 600 meters. Those 600 meters worried everyone. A natural kill zone, high ground on 3 sides, a dried riverbed forcing them into a single file. Intelligence had cleared the route twice. Drones had swept it an hour ago. But Fletcher's instincts and Patterson's cold spots said otherwise. The lead MRAP rounded a boulder outcropping. The valley opened before them, exactly as the map had shown. Holloway felt his chest tighten. Every operator in the convoy was thinking the same thing. Perfect ambush terrain. All units, weapons hot, eyes open, Holloway commanded, "Let's move fast, Endar." The world exploded. The IED detonated beneath the second MRAP with a sound that wasn't a sound, it was pressure, concussion, reality tearing apart. The vehicle lifted, tilted, and crashed onto its side. The blast wave hit Holloway's MRAP like a physical punch, rattling his teeth, turning his vision white. Contact! Contact! Multiple positions. Machine gun fire erupted from 3 directions simultaneously. PKM rounds chewed into the armored hulls, sparks flying in the darkness. An RPG streaked from the left ridgeline, missing the lead vehicle by meters and exploding against the cliff face. Holloway kicked his door open. Out! Get out now! SEALs poured from the vehicles, taking positions behind the MRAPs, returning fire at muzzle flashes that seemed to be everywhere at once. The radios had gone insane, overlapping transmissions, static, a high-pitched jamming signal that drilled into their ears. Patterson tried to get a count. Alpha 2 is down, vehicles immobile, personnel status unknown. Fletcher was already moving, low crawling toward the overturned MRAP. Rounds kicked up dirt inches from his head. He reached the vehicle, yanked open the rear hatch. 4 SEALs tumbled out, battered but alive. The driver wasn't moving. Henderson's unconscious, need a medic. But there was no time for medical care. The fire was intensifying. Whoever was out there had planned this perfectly overlapping fields of fire, high ground advantage, and they'd killed the radios. Without communications, the SEALs were isolated, unable to call for air support or quick reaction forces. Holloway pulled his map, trying to think through the chaos. They were pinned against the cliff wall. Forward was more open ground. Back meant exposing their flank. The HVT was still secured in the third vehicle. But for how long? "Sir, thermals showing at least 20 hostiles," Patterson shouted over the gunfire. "They're maneuvering to cut us off from both ends." 20 against 16 able-bodied SEALs. Not terrible odds except for the terrain, the darkness, and the fact that they were static while the enemy moved. Holloway had seen this scenario in training. The textbook said, break contact, create chaos, maneuver for advantage. But there was no maneuvering in a kill zone. An RPG hit the cliff above them. Rock fragments rained down. Someone screamed. Holloway saw young Tyler Brooks clutching his face, blood streaming between his fingers. "They're going to flank us, sir," Reeves yelled. "We've got maybe 3 minutes before they get behind our position." Holloway's mind raced through options. All of them bad. They could try to mount up and smash through, but the overturned MRAP blocked the path and they'd be sitting ducks. They could dig in and hold, but ammunition wouldn't last the night. They could scatter into the rocks, but that meant abandoning Al-Hamdi and probably losing half the team in the darkness. Fletcher appeared at his elbow, breathing hard. "Sir, this wasn't random. They knew our route, our timing, everything. This is a dedicated ambush for the HVT. You think we've got a leak? I think we're about to die if we don't." The sentence died in his throat. Someone was standing on the ridgeline. She appeared like a shape cut from the night itself, small frame, no more than 5'6", dressed in tactical black without insignia or unit markings. In her hands, an M4 carbine with a thermal scope and what looked like a custom laser module. Patterson saw her first through his NVGs. Contact ridgeline. Unidentified personnel. 3 rifles swung toward her. "Hold fire." The voice was female, clear, cutting through the chaos with absolute authority. She descended the slope with fluid precision, not running, not cautious moving like someone who owned the darkness. Holloway kept his weapon on her, but his trigger finger stayed outside the guard. Something about her movement pattern, the way she carried the rifle, spoke of professional training. She reached their position in 10 seconds, sliding behind the MRAP next to Holloway. Up close, he could see her face late 20s, sharp features, eyes that reflected no light at all. Asian or mixed heritage maybe. But when she spoke, pure American accent, no regional markers. "Raven, JSOC Surge Asset, I'm here to keep you alive. We didn't request any. You didn't have to." She was already scanning the battlefield through her thermal scope. "You've got a PKM team on your 11 o'clock, 200 meters, moving to enfilade. RPG shooter at your 2 o'clock, 150 meters, reloading, and 3 dismounts trying to flank left through that wadi." Holloway stared. How can you possibly? Thermal imaging, atmospheric analysis, and 5 years doing this. She adjusted her scope, made a minute correction to her laser calibration. "You've also got a spotter somewhere between their positions coordinating fire. Haven't found him yet." Patterson crawled over. "Ma'am, I don't know who the hell you are, but we need to break contact before." The laser on her rifle pulsed 3 times, invisible to the naked eye, but lighting up like a beacon through night vision. In the distance, 3 SEALs with NVGs simultaneously saw their targets marked with perfect precision. Raven's voice dropped to combat temperature. "All units with thermal, acquire marked targets. Fire on my count. 3, 2, 1, execute." She squeezed her trigger. The M4 roared. Her target, a machine gunner shifting positions on the ridgeline, dropped instantly. In the same breath, the 3 SEALs who'd seen her laser designation fired. 3 more hostiles went down. The incoming fire stuttered, confused. "Move," Raven commanded. "Alpha led, displaced to that boulder cluster, 60 meters. You're 10 o'clock. Alpha 3, cover their movement, then follow. I'll suppress." Holloway found himself obeying before his conscious mind caught up. There was something in her voice, not authority exactly, but absolute certainty. The voice of someone who'd done this 100 times and never failed. Patterson led his team in a combat rush, bullets cracking past but missing. Raven fired in controlled bursts, each one forcing an enemy shooter into cover. Her target selection was surgical. Anyone who tried to track the moving SEALs found themselves under immediate, accurate fire. Alpha 3, move now. Reeves and his team bounded forward. Raven ejected her magazine, reloaded in under 2 seconds, never taking her eyes from the scope. Fletcher stared at her. Who are you really? Someone who's seen this movie before. Her voice carried an edge of old pain. And I'm not letting it end the same way. The tactical situation shifted in 90 seconds. What had been a one-sided slaughter became a dynamic firefight. Raven moved among the SEALs like a conductor directing a lethal orchestra, her commands sharp and efficient. Alpha 2, you've got a thermal bloom at your 3 o'clock, 30 meters behind that stone wall. He's trying to get an angle on the HVT vehicle. Sergeant Mike Torres swung his weapon and fired a 3-round burst. A figure collapsed behind the wall. Good kill. Patterson, you're about to have company from the Wadi. 2 dismounts with AKs, 20 seconds out. Patterson positioned his team. When the Taliban fighters emerged, they walked into a perfect L-shaped ambush. Neither fired a shot. Holloway watched her work with growing astonishment. She wasn't just skilled, she was operating on a different level. Her situational awareness was supernatural. She saw patterns in the chaos, predicted movements before they happened, and her marksmanship was beyond anything he'd witnessed in 16 years of special operations. How are you doing this? He asked between bursts of fire. Training and trauma. She dropped another target at 200 meters. You learn fast when learning is the only thing that keeps you breathing. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting tonight. She keyed her throat. Mike, wait. When had she linked into their communications? All units, listen close. This ambush is too precise. Someone fed them your route, your timeline, and your vehicle spacing. This isn't opportunistic. This is a recovery operation for your HVT. Fletcher looked at Holloway. That's what I said. Which means they have more resources coming, Raven continued. We've got maybe 15 minutes before a second wave arrives with heavy weapons and night vision. We need to move. Where? Holloway demanded. We're in a box canyon with limited egress routes and a disabled vehicle. Raven was silent for 3 seconds, and in that silence, Holloway heard her rifle fire twice more. 2 distant cries confirmed hits. There's a goat path, 40 meters south, concealed behind that rock fall. Winds through the high ground for half a click, comes out near a dried riverbed. Defensible position with multiple escape routes. How do you know that? Because I've walked every inch of this valley. Her voice carried ghosts. 3 years ago, I lost 12 good people in terrain just like this. I made it my business to know every path, every shadow, every place where angels fear to tread. Reeves crawled over, his face streaked with dust and cordite. Ma'am, our thermal isn't showing that path. That's because it's under an overhang. Thermal can't see it. But I can. She pulled a chemlight, cracked it, and tossed it underhand. It landed perfectly at the mouth of an opening that had been invisible seconds before. There's your road to Canaan. I suggest we take it before the Egyptians regroup. Patterson grinned, despite himself. She's insane. She's also right, Holloway said. All units, prepare to displace. We're moving to that position. Alpha 2, rig that MRAP with thermite. We're not leaving anything for them to use. What about Henderson? Fletcher asked. I'll carry him, Raven said flatly. You boys have enough on your hands keeping our guest of honor from running home. Torres started to protest. Ma'am, he's 220 pounds of... She was already moving. She slung her rifle, grabbed Henderson's load-bearing vest, and hauled him into a fireman's carry with a smooth motion that suggested considerable strength in that compact frame. The unconscious SEAL settled across her shoulders. Anyone else want to debate load distribution? Or can we get moving before the mortars start falling? As if summoned by her words, they heard the distinct thump of a mortar tube in the distance. Incoming. The team scattered. The round impacted where they'd been clustered 5 seconds earlier, showering the area with shrapnel. Raven was already moving toward the hidden path. Henderson draped across her shoulders, not even breathing hard. That would be our exit cue, gentlemen. Follow me and try not to die. I have a very low tolerance for paperwork. The path was barely wide enough for a man sideways. Raven navigated it in near total darkness, Henderson still across her shoulders, placing each foot with absolute confidence. Behind her, the SEALs followed in single file, their night vision struggling in the confined space. Holloway found himself watching her back, trying to reconcile what he was seeing. No surge asset moved like this. No JSOC operator he'd ever met combined this level of tactical brilliance with such obvious psychological scarring. Every command she gave was perfect, but underneath the professional competence, he heard something broken. The mortar fire continued behind them, ranging shots trying to find their position. Each distant thump made Raven's shoulders tighten fractionally. Fletcher noticed it too. "You've been mortared before." It wasn't a question. She didn't answer for 20 paces. "Fallujah, Helmand, Kandahar, pick your theater." Her voice was barely above a whisper, but the one that matters happened right here. 3 years ago. Different valley, same mountains, same moon or lack thereof. What happened? We were extracting an intelligence asset. 12 operators, 1 local guide, and me on overwatch. Intel said the route was clear. Intel lied. She paused to check behind them, making sure the team was keeping up. They hit us with a coordinated ambush. IEDs first, then small arms from elevated positions. I was 400 meters away on a ridgeline, trying to provide covering fire. Holloway heard the pain in her voice now, raw and unhealed. I took down 6 hostiles in the first minute. Thought I was making a difference. Thought I could save them. She shifted Henderson's weight. They lasted 18 minutes. I counted every second. Watched through my scope as they got picked off one by one. Called for air support that never came. Tried to maneuver closer, but they'd positioned sentries specifically to counter a lone sniper. "That's not your fault," Torres said quietly. "Tell that to the 12 names I see every time I close my eyes." She gestured ahead where the path widened slightly. I was their guardian angel. I was supposed to be death from above, untouchable, all-seeing. Instead, I was impotent, watching my friends die while I fired uselessly into the darkness. Patterson understood suddenly. "That's why you came back." They court-martialed me. Said I should have called off the extraction when my position was compromised. They were probably right. She emerged from the narrow section into a wider area, a natural amphitheater in the rocks, invisible from the valley below. So yes, I came back. Spent 3 years as a ghost, unauthorized and unsanctioned, learning every meter of these mountains, waiting for another ambush exactly like that one. "So, you could die trying to make up for it?" Fletcher asked. "So I could succeed the second time." She set Henderson down gently and immediately returned to her rifle, scanning their back trail. "Tonight you boys are not becoming names," I add to my count. "I don't care if I have to burn through every round I'm carrying, and carry every one of you out on my back. Not tonight." The conviction in her voice was absolute. Holloway realized they weren't being led by a soldier anymore. They were being shepherded by someone who'd already died once and refused to do it again. "Raven," he said carefully, "what's your real name?" She didn't turn from her scope. Call signs enough. Names are for people with futures. Bullshit. Names are for people we remember. Then remember Banshee. Finally she looked at him, and her eyes were empty. "That's what they called me before. The wailing ghost. The omen of death." 12 good people learned that omen was real. "You're not an omen," Reeves said. "You're a guardian." "Tonight, Lieutenant, tonight I am. Tomorrow's another story." She refocused on her scope. "Now shut up, and set a perimeter. We've got about 8 minutes before they find this position." They came with drones. Raven spotted it first, a thermal signature too small and too steady to be a bird, circling their position at 300 feet. Commercial quadcopter modified with low-light cameras and what looked like improvised explosives. "They've got eyes on us," she announced. "Drone, 3 o'clock, high angle. That means they've got a dedicated tech team. This isn't local Taliban." Holloway felt ice in his stomach. Who then? Foreign fighters with training. Probably Haqqani network or imported specialists. She tracked the drone through her scope, which means they've got night optics now, body armor, and coordinated small unit tactics. Your little ambush just became a professional military operation. Fletcher checked his ammunition. 3 magazines left. Around him, the others were doing the same inventory. Nobody had more than 4 mags. Henderson was regaining consciousness, groaning softly. "Options?" Holloway asked. Raven was calculating, her lips moving silently. "They know where we are. They're probably calling in mortars right now, bracketing this position. Once they've got us pinned, they'll assault with the drone providing overwatch. 20, maybe 25 shooters in the second wave, organized in fire teams. We can't hold against that with our ammunition." "No, you can't." She made a minute adjustment to her rifle. "Which is why we're going to move through the kill zone while they're still positioning." Patterson stared. "That's suicide. Staying here is guaranteed death. Moving gives us maybe 20% odds. I'll take 20 over 0 every time." She pointed to a narrow defile cutting through the rocks. "That crack leads down to the riverbed. It's exposed for 40 meters, completely open, perfect killing ground. But once we're through, we can use the riverbed as a concealed route toward forward operating base Jackson." "How far is Jackson?" 8 kilometers. With an injured man and a prisoner. She smiled without humor. "Should be a lovely evening stroll." Torres looked at the defile, then at the drone circling above. "They'll cut us to pieces in that 40 meters. Not if I take out their overwatch first." Raven settled into a shooting position, rifle braced against the rock. "I get one shot at that drone. If I miss, they'll know exactly where we're massed and drop mortars directly on our heads." Holloway studied the target. The drone was small, moving erratically in the wind, at least 300 feet up in darkness. Even with thermal optics, the shot was nearly impossible. The wind alone would drift a bullet several feet at that range, and the target was maybe 12 inches across. "Raven, I know what it is." Her breathing slowed, deepened. Holloway watched her enter what snipers called the void, that state of absolute focus, where the world contracts to sight picture, windage, trigger press. Fun fact, I held the record for extreme long-range qualification at Coronado. 1,200 meters, moving target, 30-knot crosswind. "How long did you hold it?" "Still do, far as I know. They stopped tracking the record after I became persona non grata." Her finger caressed the trigger. "Now shut up, I'm doing math." The math took 5 seconds. Holloway watched her make micro-adjustments, scope compensation, breathing rhythm, muscle tension. The M4 was never designed for this kind of precision shot. It was a close-quarters weapon, effective to maybe 400 meters against point targets. She was about to attempt triple that distance against an aerial target smaller than a dinner plate. 3, 2, 1. The rifle cracked once. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the drone simply disintegrated. A brief flash, a cascade of sparks, and it dropped from the sky like a shot bird. "Holy shit," Fletcher breathed. Raven was already moving. "We've got 90 seconds before they realize what happened. Grab Alhamdi, get Henderson mobile, and follow me. Combat intervals, noise discipline, and if anyone falls behind, I'm not coming back for you." They moved. The 40-meter killing ground stretched before them like an execution stage. Bare rock, no cover, fully exposed to the high ground on both sides. Raven studied it for 3 seconds, her tactical computer running probabilities. "They'll have shooters positioned to cover this exact route," Patterson warned. "I'm counting on it." She gestured to Reeves. "How many smoke grenades do we have left?" 4. "Not enough to screen the whole distance." She thought for another second, but enough to create confusion. "Here's what we're doing. Torres and Fletcher, you'll throw smoke to the left side of the defile. It'll drift right in this wind, give us partial concealment. Everyone moves the second the smoke deploys. Don't stop, don't return fire, just run. I'll be providing suppression from here." Holloway frowned. "You're not coming with us?" "Someone has to keep their heads down. That someone is me." She checked her remaining ammunition, 2 magazines plus the one loaded, 90 rounds total. "I'll catch up once you're through." "That's not negotiable, Captain. You need someone who can shoot accurately at range in darkness while under fire. That's my specialty." Her voice softened slightly. "I told you, I'm not letting anyone die tonight. That includes me. I'll be 30 seconds behind you." There was no time to argue. Torres and Fletcher positioned themselves. Raven found a firing position with a good angle on both ridgelines, rested her rifle, and began scanning for targets. "I've got thermals," she announced calmly. 2 shooters, left ridge, 200 meters. 3 shooters, right ridge, 180 meters. And I'm guessing at least 4 more I can't see yet, waiting for someone to enter that kill zone. How do you want to play it? Holloway asked. Fast and violent. Smoke goes, you move. I'll engage the moment they break cover to fire. Keep your heads down and your feet moving. She settled her cheek against the stock. And Captain, when you get to the other side, don't wait for me. If I'm not there in 60 seconds, I'm not coming. Raven. That's an order. I'm the highest-ranking ghost operator in this valley. Now move. Torres pulled pins. The smoke grenades tumbled into the defile, hissing and billowing gray-white clouds. The wind caught them, pushing the screen diagonally across the gap. Not perfect, but enough. Go. The SEALs ran. Alhamdi stumbled between 2 operators, hands zip-tied. Henderson limped but moved under his own power. They'd covered maybe 15 meters when the first shots rang out. Raven's M4 answered instantly. She'd already acquired the shooter through thermal, saw his muzzle flash, and put 2 rounds into his position before he could adjust aim. The hostile dropped. Second, target, right ridge. She pivoted, fired 3 rounds. Another shooter fell back. But now, they knew where she was. Return fire began peppering her position, rounds sparking off rocks inches from her head. Raven didn't flinch. She methodically worked through her target list. Fire, acquire, fire, acquire. Each burst precisely aimed, each one forcing an enemy shooter back into cover. The SEALs were 3/4 across when an RPG team appeared on the right ridgeline. RPG, someone screamed. Raven saw it through her scope. 2 men, one carrying the launcher, one loading the rocket. They were tracking the running SEALs, leading the target, about to fire into the clustered group. Distance, 230 meters. Conditions. Darkness. Wind left to right at 8 knots. Target partially concealed. Time to shot. 3 seconds before they fired. She didn't have 3 seconds. Raven fired on instinct more than aimed. 4 rapid shots stitching across the position. The first 2 missed. The third caught the loader in the shoulder. The fourth hit the rocket propellant. The RPG detonated on the ridge. A massive fireball that lit up the night and sent both men tumbling. Last man through. Patterson's voice crackled over the radio. Raven ejected her spent magazine, loaded her last one. 30 rounds left. She laid down a final suppressive burst, not aimed, just volume of fire to keep heads down, then ran. The sprint across that 40 meters felt like running through molasses. Every step exposed, every breath waiting for the bullet with her name on it. Rounds kicked up dirt around her feet. Something tugged at her sleeve, a near miss that would have ended her. She dove behind cover just as mortar rounds began impacting where she'd been positioned 5 seconds earlier. Fletcher pulled her down. "You're hit." Graze. Doesn't count. Blood ran down her left arm, but she ignored it. "We need to move. They'll have that gap covered with mortars for the next 5 minutes. Holloway grabbed her good arm. "You just saved all our lives." "Not yet. We've still got 8 clicks, and they know our direction." She stood despite the wound. "But I appreciate the sentiment. Now let's get the hell out of this valley before they bring up the heavy guns." The riverbed was a maze of shadows and loose stone. Raven led them through it with the confidence of someone who'd memorized every feature by moonlight. Her wounded arm hung stiff, but her rifle stayed ready, sweeping potential threats. "How's Henderson?" she asked, without looking back. "Concussion, maybe cracked ribs. He'll live," Torres reported. "And our guest?" Holloway glanced at Al-Hamdi. The Taliban commander had said nothing since the ambush began, but his eyes tracked Raven with focused intensity. "He's cooperating," Holloway said carefully. They moved in tactical column, Raven on point, Fletcher bringing up rear security. The mountains gradually gave way to lower hills. In the distance, they could see the lights of FOB Jackson's civilization, safety, hot food and cold water. It felt impossibly far away. "Contact rear," Fletcher hissed. "I've got movement. 400 meters. Raven dropped to one knee, brought her rifle up. Through the thermal scope, she saw them 6 fighters moving fast through the riverbed, definitely tracking the SEAL team. "They're persistent," she muttered. "Captain, we need to increase pace. We can't fight them here with our ammunition state. Can you slow them down?" She considered the terrain, the distance, her remaining rounds, 15 bullets, 6 targets, math that didn't add up. "I can try. Give me Torres and Patterson for security. Rest of you keep moving, we'll catch up." They found a position among a tumble of boulders that gave them elevation and concealment. Raven settled in, Patterson and Torres covering her flanks. She watched the pursuing fighters through her scope, studying their movement pattern. "They're good," she observed, "military trained. Bounds in cover, proper spacing, not your average Taliban militia." "Can you hit them at this range in darkness?" Torres asked. "Watch and learn, Sergeant." She fired. The lead fighter dropped. Before the others could react, she'd shifted aim and fired again. Another down. The remaining 4 scattered into cover. "That's 2, Patterson said. "And 13 rounds left." She watched their positions, waiting for someone to move. "They know roughly where we are now. This becomes a patience game." But they didn't have time for patience. The rest of the team was getting farther away every second. One of the fighters made a mistake moving too quickly between cover points. Raven was ready. She led the target, compensated for his speed, and fired. He went down hard. 3 down, 3 to go, 10 rounds remaining. She counted aloud. The math is getting difficult. Al-Hamdi surprised them all by speaking for the first time. His English was accented but clear. "The woman who shoots in darkness, I know of you. The Banshee. They say you are a ghost who cannot be killed." Raven didn't take her eye from the scope. "They say a lot of things. Most of it wrong. They say you hunt these mountains because you lost something here. Something you can never recover. Talk less, prisoner." "I'm trying to concentrate." But Al-Hamdi continued, his voice carrying odd respect. "I knew the men who killed your team. They boasted of it. Said they trapped the great American sniper, made her watch while they executed her friends." Raven's finger tensed on the trigger. Patterson saw her whole body go rigid. "Careful, ma'am," he warned softly. She took a long breath. "Where are they now? Those men who boasted?" "Dead. All dead. I heard you hunted them across 2 provinces. Took you 18 months, but you found everyone." 17 months, she fired. Another hostile down. "And yes, I found them. 4 to go, by the way. 7 rounds. Raven Torres started. "I'm fine. Just a trip down memory lane." She shifted position slightly, getting a better angle. "Our friends down there are going to try flanking left. That's what I'd do. Torres, watch that draw at 10 o'clock. Sure enough, 2 fighters appeared in the draw, trying to move up the flank. Torres engaged with controlled bursts, forcing them back into cover. But the move confirmed what Raven had suspected. "They're trying to pin us while a larger force moves around our position. We've been here too long." She fired twice more, harassing fire, not aimed to kill. Time to go. They withdrew by bounds, Raven covering each movement. The pursuit continued, but at a more cautious pace now. The enemy had learned respect for the woman with the rifle. As they caught up with the main group, Fletcher grinned. "How many?" 4, confirmed, 2 probable. "Enough to buy us time." She checked her ammunition, 3 rounds remaining. "I'm Winchester. If they catch us now, I'll be throwing rocks." "Won't need to," Holloway said, pointing ahead. "Look." Through the darkness, they saw movement. American military vehicles. A patrol from FOB Jackson responding to their distress beacon. "About time," Patterson muttered. But Raven was still scanning behind them. "We're not clear yet. Those fighters are still." A figure appeared from the rocks. AK-47 rising toward Al-Hamdi. A final assassination attempt. One last chance to prevent the intelligence asset from reaching American hands. Raven moved on instinct. She had no ammunition, no time, just muscle memory, and 3 years of hunting these mountains like a vengeful spirit. She crossed the distance in 4 strides, drove her rifle stock into the shooter's face, followed with a knee strike that folded him like paper. The AK clattered away. She secured him with his own weapon, professional and efficient. "Last one," she said calmly. "Gift wrapped for your intelligence people." The rescue convoy arrived 90 seconds later. Holloway watched Raven refuse medical attention, refuse a ride back to base, refuse to even give her name to the arriving commander. "You're just going to vanish?" he asked. "That's what ghosts do, Captain." She retrieved her empty magazines, policing her brass even here. "You've got your prisoner. You've got your team alive. My work is done. Come back with us. Get that arm looked at. Give us a proper debrief." She smiled, and for the first time it reached her eyes. "Officially, I was never here. You fought through an ambush with superior tactics and marksmanship. Give your men the credit, they earned it. They know what you did. Then let them think they imagined it. She started walking back toward the mountains. Tell them Banshee was just a heat mirage, a trick of the thermal optics, a lucky break when they needed one most. Fletcher called after her. Will we see you again? She paused, silhouetted against the pre-dawn sky. Next time you're about to die in these mountains, I'll be there. Otherwise, I'm just a story you tell over whiskey. And then she was gone, swallowed by the shadows as completely as she'd emerged from them. The debriefing at Fob Jackson took 6 hours. Holloway and his team sat around a conference table, describing the night's events to a room full of skeptical intelligence officers. Let me get this straight, Colonel Sarah Brennan said, reviewing the report. You were ambushed by a superior force with advanced intelligence on your route. You fought through with 0 casualties. And you accomplished this with help from a female operative named Raven, who claims to be a JSOC asset but has no official record? That's correct, ma'am, Holloway confirmed. Brennan pulled up a database on her laptop. I've got no surge assets deployed to this sector, no call signs matching Raven, no female operators with that profile in the entire theater. Fletcher spoke up. Ma'am, with respect, she saved our lives. She knew things about that valley that aren't in any intelligence brief. She shot a drone out of the sky with an M4 in complete darkness. That's not imagination. I'm not saying you imagined it, Sergeant. I'm saying the person you encountered is not officially sanctioned. Brennan's expression softened slightly. 3 years ago, we lost a reconnaissance team in Sangan Valley. 12 Kia, 1 survivor. That survivor was a female sniper named Captain Melissa Kerrigan, call sign Banshee. The room went quiet. She was supposed to provide overwatch for an extraction operation, Brennan continued. The team was ambushed and wiped out. Kerrigan blamed herself, said she should have predicted the attack pattern. The inquiry cleared her of wrongdoing, but she didn't see it that way. Torres leaned forward. What happened to her? She resigned from the army. Disappeared. Officially, she's living somewhere in Colorado, collecting disability for PTSD. Brennan closed the laptop. Unofficially, Intel has reported sightings of a female operator conducting unauthorized missions throughout Helmand and Kandahar provinces for the past 3 years. She hits Taliban positions, rescues pinned down patrols, then vanishes before anyone can identify her. That's her, Patterson said. Has to be. Probably. But here's the problem. She's not military anymore. She has no legal authority to conduct operations. Every time she engages the enemy, she's technically a war criminal under international law. Holloway felt his jaw tighten. She saved 16 American lives tonight. I know, and I'm grateful. But I also can't officially acknowledge her existence or her actions. If I do, I have to arrest her. Do you understand? They understood. Raven existed in a gray zone, not quite vigilante, not quite hero, but something in between. A guardian angel with a service record full of ghosts. What do we tell our men? Reeves asked. Brennan thought about it. You tell them they fought with exceptional courage under fire. You tell them their training and teamwork saved lives. And if someone asks about the mysterious woman, she shrugged. You tell them she was a heat mirage, a legend, a story told by soldiers who've been in the field too long. That's not fair to her, Fletcher protested. No, it's not. But it keeps her out of a military prison and lets her keep doing whatever it is she's doing out there. Brennan stood, dismissed. Gentlemen, get some rest. And if you happen to encounter Banshee again, maybe remind her that guardian angels work better when they don't make themselves targets for friendly fire incidents. The SEALs filed out. As they walked toward the barracks, Henderson caught up with them. He'd been cleared from medical and wanted to thank whoever had carried him to safety. So this Banshee, he said, you think she's still out there? Patterson looked toward the mountains, dark shapes against the lightning sky. Yeah, I think she'll always be out there. Some debts can't be repaid in a single lifetime. She's trying anyway. Think we'll see her again? Hope not, Torres said, because seeing her means we're about to die, and if I never need a guardian angel again, that's fine by me. They laughed, the tension of the night finally breaking. But Holloway didn't laugh. He was thinking about Raven's eyes, that emptiness, that determination to prevent anyone else from experiencing what she'd endured. She was both running from her past and running toward it, trying to save everyone she couldn't save 3 years ago. "What are you thinking, sir?" Fletcher asked. "I'm thinking we owe her more than silence and legend." Holloway pulled out a piece of paper, started writing. "I'm thinking I'm going to submit a recommendation for the Silver Star under her real name, for actions above and beyond in service to American forces even after she'd left the military. They won't approve it. Probably not. But it'll be in the record. And someday, when she's ready to come in from the cold, that record might matter." He finished writing, folded the paper. Everyone deserves to be remembered as more than a ghost. 3 months later, at a forward operating base in Kandahar, a Marine patrol found itself pinned down by accurate sniper fire from a compound. They'd lost 2 men and couldn't maneuver. Air support was 20 minutes out, 19 minutes too long. Then the enemy fire suddenly stopped. The Marines cautiously moved forward to find 4 hostile snipers dead, each killed with a single shot. No shell casings, no sign of who'd done it. Just a message scratched in the dust. Semper Fi. B. 2 weeks after that, an army convoy hit an IED outside Lashkar Gah. 3 vehicles disabled, casualties mounting, Taliban closing in. The convoy commander was preparing to call for danger close artillery when the enemy abruptly retreated. Later, they found 7 dead hostiles in the surrounding buildings. Long-range shots, extreme precision. And another message: stay safe. B. The story spread. Soldiers began calling her the Wraith, the Night Angel, the Unnamed Guardian. Some claimed she was a classified special operations unit. Others insisted she was a local who trained with Western forces. A few believed she was actually a man, because no woman could shoot that well. But the SEALs of Team 7 knew better. In a bar outside Fort Campbell, 6 months after the Sangin ambush, they gathered to honor their fallen and celebrate their survival. The whiskey flowed freely. The stories got taller with each retelling. Fletcher raised his glass. To Banshee, may she find peace someday. To Raven, Torres amended, the guardian angel who shoots back. They drank. Henderson, fully recovered, pulled out his phone. Got something you guys should see. He showed them a news article from a Colorado mountain town. Local woman, identified only as M. Kerrigan, had opened a wilderness survival school for veterans dealing with PTSD. The program focused on reclaiming purpose through teaching others, finding redemption through service. Think that's her? Henderson asked. Holloway studied the grainy photo, a woman in hiking gear, face partially shadowed, standing on a mountain overlook. He couldn't be certain, but the stance was familiar. Maybe she found a different way to save people. Or maybe, Patterson said quietly, she's doing both, teaching by day, hunting by night. They'd never know for sure. And maybe that was appropriate. Some heroes worked better in shadow. Some debts got repaid in ways that couldn't be officially recognized. But every soldier who'd served in those mountains knew the truth. When the night was darkest, when death seemed certain, sometimes a small figure appeared from nowhere with a rifle and absolute determination. She never stayed long, never left a name. Just bodies of enemies, alive American troops, and the fading echo of precise gunfire. In the SEAL community, they stopped calling her Banshee. That name carried too much pain, too much past. Instead, they gave her a new designation, spoken with respect and gratitude. Sentinel. The watchful guardian, the unsleeping protector, the one who stood between warriors and the darkness, asking nothing in return except the chance to prevent one more tragedy. Holloway finished his whiskey, set down his glass, and looked at his team, all alive, all whole, because of a woman who refused to let her past define everyone else's future. To Sentinel, he said, may her aim stay true and her ghosts finally rest. To Sentinel, they echoed, and in mountains half a world away, if you listened carefully on certain moonless nights, you might hear the sound of a single rifle shot clean, precise, and final, followed by silence. The Sentinel was on duty. The darkness would claim no more souls tonight,